Hello everyone. So this is a video series regarding Woodpecker method. So there are 1,000 puzzles in this. So we are going to solve all these 1,000 puzzles. It will definitely improve our chess understanding. We are going to do it 10 puzzles per day. So today we are starting and this is the first puzzle. So let me explain. You can always pause the video and then figure out the answer. So the solution here is this is black's turn, and we should always look for forcing moves. Looking for check is important. So in this position it's very important to play the forcing move, rook h2 check. So rook h2, only one variation to calculate, that is king h2. Once you analyze king h2, we should not stop the calculation at that point. So after king h2 we need to continue checking. So we got the follow-up check, rook h8. We are visualizing that move, and we can confirm that the king cannot access any squares, so this is checkmate. So we can execute that move first. Rook h2, king takes is forced, then rook h8, checkmate. So on to the next one. So the solution for the second exercise. So we can see here both kings are vulnerable. Our king is outside, their king is in the open space. So in this position, again going through the forcing moves, we can go for the check. We can see one check here, that is rook f8. So rook f8, bishop f8. We need to look for the follow-up check. Once you play rook f8, bishop f8, you can see the queen can go to g4. There is a problem. The bishop might come and get our queen, and we don't have a follow-ups here. So instead of that, so we can directly go for the discovered check. For example, rook f8, bishop f, and then this king is not at the right spot. It is in line with our bishop. It's one of the bad square for the king. So once we push the pawn, then the bishop will check the king. So the answer would be rook f8. Bishop takes is forced. The king cannot access any square. Only move is bishop takes rook. So this queen check is unnecessary. If you give this queen check, you can still win. Let's say they capture, we can still do the same thing, but no need to delay the process. So we are directly playing bishop pawn e6. After pawn d6, bishop e6, bishop takes, and beautiful checkmate with both the bishops. So looking for forcing moves, rook f8, pawn d6, bishop e6. This is the answer. The third one, here we don't see any check this position, so we can look for a capture. Then we have to calculate. So queen takes bishop is a bad capture, we can easily reject it. We got one more capture, that is bishop takes knight. So once we play bishop takes knight, the pawn will get your bishop. Then again you need to look for a forcing move. So pawn e5. So we got a battery here, the rook and queen battery. Once you push the pawn to e5, the bishop will run away because it is attacked by a lower value piece. Then the d7 bishop will be under attack two times, and they are defended only one time. So we do equal trade, pawn takes, on e5. Make sure the bishop cannot do any check. They can simply escape. Once the bishop run, for example, like this, they're going to get this. We got a backup. That's the winning move. So white is So coming to the fourth exercise. So here we can see the queen is defended only by this d1 rook. So what if this rook got diverted? Then we can get the queen. So then applying the forcing move, rook d2 check, the rook capture. Then we play queen takes queen. So we could also try rook takes rook, the king takes, because since it comes with the check, so they cannot take the queen. Then we will get the queen. So basically, so we are diverting this rook away so that the queen will be hanging there. So you should look for check followed by even check again. Only then we take. Pretty simple. So on to the next. So no other variations here. I guess if after the check, in case if they decline, we will do a checkmate in one. It's not working. So fifth exercise. Here we can see a classic idea. This bishop is x-raying, spinning the knight to the queen. So what if we attack this bishop, this pawn at a time? For example, knight 5. If you do that move, then we will lose a queen, and we don't have a follow-up. With only these two pieces, we cannot do much. So we are directly going for bishop f7. So now the king can capture. If they are not accepting, we can simply retreat. We got a free pawn and the king cannot castle. So the king takes. Now we are targeting the king and bishop at a time. Now there are two attackers on g4. So check. The king will run away. We pick up the bishop. Knight takes, then queen takes. For example, the king will run most likely 8. We take the bishop. Knight takes. Okay. So in this position, immediately you need to recognize the piece placement. So the king and the queen, they both are in the same diagonal, which is very weak. So we like to make a pin like this, absolute pin, but we notice a problem, the knight is defending. So if you start with rook takes c6, immediately we remove the knight. Doesn't matter they take with the pawn or with the bishop. Let's say they take with the pawn. Next bishop a5 will be a pin, absolute pin. They cannot save the queen. So in case if you start with bishop c6, now the bishop takes, we don't have this pin now. Of course you have it, but your queen is under attack. Bishop a5, lose your. So for this reason, we are directly going for rook c6 and only then bishop a. This is important. Moving on to the seventh exercise. So here we can find an overloaded piece. The name of the tactic is overloaded piece. The queen is guarding two important square. One is it is protecting the bishop. Also, it's keeping an eye on f3. Why f3 is so important? The reason for that is we can threaten checkmate because no good check here, no good capture. So we need to look for a threat. So we are going for pawn f3. Immediately threatens mate in 1. Queen g2 would be a mate. So queen f3, pawn cannot take since it's pinned. So queen f3 is the only way to prevent a checkmate, or else the queen can go to f1. So let's see this variation. Queen takes f3. Now the bishop will be hanging. We can take the bishop. That has no protection. But in case if you start the variation with rook c4, it's not going to work because queen c4, because now if you do f3 we are little bit slow because queen can come back and solve the problem. So going back, after pawn f3, look for very strong threat first. This is a very big threat, they need to respond to it. So queen f1, even this won't work because we can start with rook c5 diverting the queen, and then we will take advantage of the um, unprotected pawn. So we do a checkmate. Okay, so here we discuss about the overloaded piece. The queen is guarding two important things. One is f3 square, another one defending the bishop. So remember the pattern. As always, pause your video and then try to figure out the solution on your own and then check with the video. It is black's turn. Here we can see problem for white. The king is in the middle, it is uncastled. The queen is the only piece protecting the bishop. The queen is attacking the bishop. So whenever you see such a piece that is attacked and defended equal number of times, you should know that's a weak piece. So we are immediately looking for queen takes bishop. And what if the queen takes? Here comes the pattern you need to see. So the king and queen, they both are in the light square, even number of squares away from each other, two squares in between. Now actually our knight can move to e3, attack the king and queen. So once the king run away, we are going to get this queen. So basically we got a free bishop there. So this is the ninth exercise. Here a piece is defending the teammate, the king is defending the rook. Like we discussed before, it's already attacked by the king. One attacker, one defender, and also king is overloaded, it's helping the knight. So the answer is very simple now. We do rook takes knight. They don't have any good in between move with the rook. So they should accept our rook. They can accept a rook. Then we are going to take the rook on b5. So once you captured, now at last you got an extra knight in that variation. Yes, even after rook d7, in case if they do this check, yes, they can play that. We can easily play bishop takes. And they can capture, then king b5, start rolling the pawn. So yeah, rook d7 is the best, which will divert the king up. So last puzzle today. This is white's turn. After some puzzles we are seeing capture and check. So actually it is a sacrifice. We are doing queen f6. The reason for that, in case queen blocks, bishop will take. So pawn takes, this is the main thing. We are going to do bishop f8 check. So looking for forcing move. The king cannot escape anywhere. So check, followed by a check again, and it is a checkmate. So that's it for today. So if you have any question, feel free to comment below the video. So thanks for watching.